Sal Paolantonio stops by. We'll get Sal's thoughts on what Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni had to say this week during their end-of-year press conferences, also on the divisional games as well. That's all coming up here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. You can download the app to your phone in the Apple Store or Google Play. So let's check in with ESPN senior national correspondent Sal Paolantonio, who joins me right now thanks to our friend Johnny G over there in Ocean City, the Burger Realty team, and, of course, Sal here on a Sal Pal Friday. What is going on, my man?
Mike Gill, I'm getting ready to go to Kansas City to get the Philly Wests. We got Sean McDermott, Andy Reid, Leslie Frazier, Steve Spagnuolo. How many former Philly coaches you want in one spot? But we got it all.
How about that? I didn't even put all that together until you just said that. You got a lot of, people. That's another underrated thing about this regime and this ownership group is it's a lot of Philly guys all over the NFL, former front office guys, GMs, coaches, all over this league.
Yeah, all you got to do is look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You got Mark Donovan. He was in the front office in Philly. Now he's the president of the Chiefs. And, of course, Andy Reid and Spags. They got a lot of people there. And, of course, in Buffalo, it's you got Derek Boyko, who runs the PR department, used to do it in Philadelphia, and he's the right-hand man to Sean McDermott, of course, Leslie Frazier. You got a lot of Philly connections.
Well, Sal, on this Friday, by the way, I want to tell you, because you'll be the first person I tell, to thank you to being part of the show again this football season. The Sports Bash was the #1 rated show in the market, so thank you, Sal.
Hey, congratulations. And it should be. The Sports Bash is a great, great show, and you're a great host. Well,
you're a great partner to have as part of the show, so let's get down and dirty and get some thoughts from Sal here. All right. The big conversation, obviously, was how emphatic, right? Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. There are no secrets. Jalen Hurts is the guy. Howie said it. Nick said it. Do we believe him?
I don't, Mike. And here's the thing. And I teach journalism students. I've got a master's in journalism. I got a PhD in the street ball of journalism. Have been in the business since 1983. Covered presidential campaigns, almost 30 Super Bowls. Been all over the world. And the one thing I tell my students is this: don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. And that is the #1 piece of advice that I would give to every Eagles fan going forward. And, it'll be readily apparent in the next, let's say 4 to 6 weeks, when we start to hear what the Eagles might be doing behind the scenes to try to bolster the quarterback position. Because, when you go back and look at it, and you and I discussed this right after the game, I was still down in Tampa, is that I think the #1 problem was Sirianni in that game. I don't think he helped his young quarterback. I don't think he helped his young offense. His game plan and his reaction to Todd Bowles' game plan, I thought, was severely lacking. But then when Jalen Hurts was given an opportunity to make plays, he certainly didn't do enough. And they have to make a decision. Do they want a Lamar Jackson sort of run-based offense, or do they want what they've always wanted, which is more of a passing game, a timing and rhythm, pocket-based passing game, which they really haven't had here at all. I mean, they brought in Michael Vick. He was a running quarterback. Nick Foles, he ran the RPOs. The one guy that they had for 11 games in the Super Bowl season was Carson Wentz. That's the only really time that they've had in the last 6 to 8 years.
I guess the next question would be, what's more realistic, that Howie Roseman drafts his guy or finds a guy via a trade? Like what his DNA kind of suggests, hey, we traded up for Carson Wentz. There's not a great quarterback in this class. I think that's what murkies this offseason water.
There's a lot of murkiness all over the place with this situation. One, what do they have? 15, 16, and 19 in the first round?
Yep, 15, 16, 19, correct.
Okay, good. So, I mean, they might have a quarterback that drops into the 10 to 12 spot. And if they think that quarterback is good enough, then maybe they go up. If they do that, they detonate Jalen Hurts' career in Philadelphia. They just detonate it. It's over. So that's murkiness number one. Murkiness number two is with 15, 16, and 19, they could probably dangle maybe one or two of those draft choices in front of Seattle. Not that I'm saying that that's what I would do, but, they could do that. If Seattle comes off their price, or whatever it might be, and Seattle says, hey, you know what? We're going to move on. We're going to move on, and maybe we get one or two first-round picks. Maybe we get a first round of this year and a first round of next year. And the Eagles decide that's the way they go. Again, Jalen Hurts' career here is over.
Yeah.
If they decide to do the really dumb thing to do would be, in my view, to draft a quarterback in the second or third round. Then it gets really murky, right?
Yeah.
Well, right? Because
put you right back in the situation you were 2 years ago.
Mike, you're right back in the situation you were 2 years ago. Bing, 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 bing. Absolutely.
That's, to me, this team, they made the playoffs and it was fun, but you got a lot of holes to fill. You got a quarterback at a discounted rate. Build the team up around him. Get that team ready, and then if he's not the guy, then you focus on finding that guy, right? Don't reach for a guy when the team's not ready to get there. Is that fair or no? You got to find that quarterback first.
I think here's what I think, Mike. One, the season was a success. You went from 4 wins to the playoffs. If you had gone from 4 wins to 6 wins, there would have been an improvement. 4 wins to 8 wins, nice. You did a great job. 4 wins to the playoffs, smashing success. The problem is that they totally crash-landed in the playoff game, completely. And I'm going to say it again, 95% of the problem was the coaches, not the players. It was a bad plan by Sirianni.
Yep.
And all you got to do is look at the Mike Evans touchdown pass that Tom Brady threw. There were 2 receivers in the route, both of the tight ends. It was a 12 personnel grouping for Tampa, 2 tight ends on the field. Both tight ends were blocking. He sent 2 guys out. The Eagles had 6 guys covering 2. 6 covering 2. And Mike Evans was pitch and catch, simple crossing route, and Evans scored on a touchdown. Mike, I look at that and I say Jonathan Gannon is not fit to be a defensive coordinator in the National Football League. He's just not.
Well, is he fit to be a head coach? Because apparently, according to your colleague Dan Graziano, he is the front runner in Houston.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'll pick him up at his house and drive him to the airport.
Hey, look, sometimes guys are more equipped to be head coaches than they are to be coordinators, right? I mean, sometimes you're just a better leader or a better, more organized than you are at play calling. No,
I don't see it. I don't see it from Gannon. I haven't seen it in his press conferences, the way he answers questions, and I certainly haven't seen it in the scheme.
Gotcha.
I mean, the team was only in the game because Tristan Wirfs got hurt and Ryan Jensen got hurt. Come on, Mike.
I don't know that they were – you saying they're in the game, I think, is giving them credit. Were they ever really in that game? I mean, okay, they were in the game. They had a couple chances to get back. It's 17-0. Hurts throws the interception. They go to halftime. They get a stop, 3 and out. They calls a punt, and then Rager muffs the punt. Game over. Yep,
the two of their biggest playmakers – a first-round pick and a second-round pick, their starting quarterback, and a guy who's supposed to be better than Justin Jefferson, made major gaps at a turning point in the game where it could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And so, but all you got to do is look at that defense And I'm talking about the defense. The defense, had 3 successive series where they sacked Tom Brady on 3rd down. And the only reason that happened is because they had 2 Pro Bowl linemen hurt, 1 out of the game.
Sal Pal, there was another thing I want to get your opinion on because there was a good question. Mike.
Wow, did Dave Graziano really report that he was the number 1 candidate? I did not see that.
Yeah,
wow.
He said, I'll get it for you.
I believe Dan. I just can't believe that's the case. Wow.
I also talked to John Clayton earlier this week on the show, and he said Russell Wilson, of all the stories in 50 years he's covered, that Russell Wilson leaving the Seahawks is the biggest made-up story there is.
Okay, well, then he's staying.
Exactly.
Well, I believe John Clayton.
Right,
sure.
exactly. He was emphatic with that. In fact, I've had John on for years. I've never heard him get so excited. When I asked him about Russell Wilson, he said, this is the biggest made-up story, and I'm trying to find the audio so I can play it for you. Mike Kay asked Roseman, he said, you haven't drafted a linebacker in 40 years, a safety ever. And Roseman said, we have a philosophy on how to build a team, a philosophy that we think's been successful. So is that saying don't expect a linebacker or a safety in this particular draft class?
Well, not in the first round. I think they're talking about in the first round. I mean,
yeah.
Listen.
No, I agree with you in the first round. Like people think 15, 16. You got like they've neglected linebacker for so long. The evolution of the game is changing that you need that athletic linebacker, not Jeremiah Trotter, but somebody, more at the cover guy.
Well, you need Micah Parsons is who you need. Certainly, I mean, the Cowboys pick a linebacker, and he proved to be a versatile pass rusher and a guy who could cover and a guy who could run sideline to sideline. And, oh, by the way, Derek Brooks is in the Hall of Fame in the Tampa 2 defense. I mean, there's plenty of examples where linebackers have been picked high up and have paid off. So it's silly, of course, to have this philosophy that you stick to in the face of overwhelming evidence that if you do something different, it'll be better. But here's what I think they need. It all depends on who they're going to replace Jonathan Gannon with, right? So if Jonathan Gannon
That's if he gets hired. They're not firing him.
If he gets hired.
Okay. I'm just trying to be clear.
If he gets hired somewhere, because they're not firing him.
Correct.
If he gets hired somewhere, okay, so who are they bringing in? And what kind of defense is that coordinator going to run? 2, is Jason Kelsey going to retire? 3, is Lane Johnson going to be healthy? Lane Johnson leads that game. That was big. Huge. Hey, Michael, I got to jump on this Buffalo Bills Zoom call.
Yep.
I'm going to call you right back, okay?
You got it. All right. Sal Paolantonio jumping on the Bills Zoom. Sal Pal's back. So there we go. That matched up perfectly. Took a quick break. Back we are. Sal Paolantonio, ESPN. He got the question in with the Bills. They're playing the Chiefs this weekend. He'll be covering that one. We've got it here on 97.3 ESPN. Let's get back into our conversation. All right, Sal Pal, we're all back ready to go. What's happening? What do we got here?
So, every Friday, especially during the playoffs, I get an opportunity to talk one-on-one with the coaches. So I had a conversation earlier with Andy Reid, and I got a couple of questions with Sean McDermott that I can use for Sunday morning. It's embargoed. The answers are embargoed till Sunday morning. It's kind of a thing that I try to work out with the head coaches. So you'll have to tune in on Sunday.
There you go.
To find out what Sean McDermott and Andy Reid said to me.
Now, you got my text message. You got my text message Sunday morning. A text of you and Nick Sirianni in the bowls of Raymond James Stadium. You know what my girlfriend said? Isn't that your friend?
Oh, she was talking about Nick Sirianni?
No, you. And then she
I know, I was joking.
She noticed that Nick Sirianni had a fresh haircut. That's what and a fresh shave. She said, I don't know that that's a good idea. He looked like he got a haircut and shave for this game specifically. And maybe that ruined it.
No, gosh. No, listen. Going back to what you were asking about how to build the team. I think this is the big issue for the team this offseason. So here's what I think. This is my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think you stay put at quarterback. I think you're right. You build, unless you absolutely are bowled over by an opportunity. I don't know what that opportunity would be. Are we talking Derek Carr? Are we talking Deshaun Watson? Are we talking Russell Wilson? What are we talking?
Right.
I don't know what it would be, okay? If you're telling me you have a chance to get Derek Carr here as a starting quarterback, yeah, I'd probably take a shot at that, Mike. I do. Deshaun Watson, I'm definitely against the Deshaun Watson thing. There's too many unresolved issues that I'm not privy to, and I'd like to know much more information. And if John Clayton says Russell Wilson's not leaving Seattle, then I'm taking John Clayton's word for it.
I got the bite, actually. I actually found that bite. If you would like to hear it, I can play it for you.
All right, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
This is John Clayton. He was on with me Wednesday. Here you go.
I mean, again, everybody asks, Russell Wilson trade, Pete Carroll getting fired. I mean, it's the most ridiculous story I've covered in 50 years covering the NFL. 50 years. And it's the most ridiculous, stupidest story I've ever heard. I mean, if you get rid of Russell Wilson, you're now a 4-win team. You think they want to do that?
That's John Clayton right here on the Sports Bash.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. Russell Wilson, I have a lot of respect for Russell Wilson. I think he's a great teammate and a great guy, and he has obviously proven to be a great quarterback. And if you can get him, you get him. Depending on what the price.
Well, we all know we all know that the Eagles had their affection towards him in that draft. That Wilson got taken, they wanted him. They ended up with Foles.
Yeah, and guess what happened? Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, so they
worked out pretty well.
But how do they draft here in Philadelphia? The inside out, Mike. They draft from the inside out. Howie Roseman is gonna draft offensive and defensive linemen in the first round. That's what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely going to do that, and he should do that. This team's aging on the offensive line. Their right guard, Pro Bowl right guard, has been AWOL. Their Pro Bowl right tackle had to leave the playoff game with a knee injury. Their Pro Bowl center wants to retire, talked about retiring for 2 years. They need pass rushers. Again, who is the new defensive coordinator if Gannon gets hired somewhere else? What does that defensive coordinator need or want? And you absolutely have to, in my view, you have to fix the system, and you have to get better players on defense. No question in my mind.
Well,
and this team needs a corner. It needs a corner. It needs a pass rusher and an offensive lineman.
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't. Where Fletcher Cox is, you got to start to look at the interior of that defense too.
And you know what? If you can find Megatron, get me a Megatron in here. I want a guy who is an oak tree on roller skates, who can absolutely – no, I'm serious, who can create his own shot, as we like to say in basketball. I don't want to have to – oh, man, the new bugaboo in the NFL is what? Well, you can scheme this guy open. No, I don't want a guy who can scheme open. I want Jamar Chase, who can win one-on-one. Justin Jefferson, one-on-one. The guy in Seattle, Metcalf, wins one-on-one battles. C.D. Lamb. Did you see what Troy Aikman said about C.D. Lamb? And Dak Prescott.
Oh, I was good. Aikman was pretty critical of the way they use Lamb. He was equally as critical of the way he couldn't fathom how Smith didn't have any targets early in the game. He said Michael Irvin would have 10 catches by now. He said the same thing about Smith during the broadcast as he did about Lamb.
Smith was never open. C.D. Lamb was open all game. That's the other thing. You have to scheme Devontae Smith open. He makes some great catches, but most of the time he's almost always covered when he's doing it, Mike.
So Sirianni says he's a legit number one. You would disagree with that?
Oh, he's not a legit number one in the NFL. He's too small.
Okay. Well, it looks like they got a lot of work to do. And I wonder, Sal, because of the youth of the wide receivers, do they say we need to get a veteran guy? There's some good receivers in this free agent class. Do they target one of them and get somebody in here with some experience to play across from Smith?
Yeah, build around Jalen Hurts unless and until you can find someone better. Mm-hmm. You have to build around him. I am all for that. Mike, the team, they did play inferior teams. But they did win those games.
Hey, I got a nugget for you, though. I got a nugget for you. The schedule's out next year. The schedule, not the schedule, the opponents. 11 teams they play next year did not make the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're going to have another.
You don't want to go one and done. You don't want to go one and done 2 years in a row. You want to get better.
Dallas does it every year. What's the problem?
Yeah, well, I think Howie Roseman hit it on the head. I mean, for all the problems that they've had, Mike, they went to the playoffs after winning 4 games after they fired their head coach and their quarterback imploded. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I said earlier the arrow's pointing up. I had people text in, how could you say that? And the reason is they didn't beat a team with a winning record. Why would that indicate arrows pointing up if you didn't win one game against a team with a winning record? I don't know. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Sure. That's fair. Point number 1. And point number 2 is they got embarrassed in the playoff game. And not the players. Again, the players, I saw players playing very hard and spirited and with a lot of energy. That coaching staff failed those players in that game. Flat out. Gannon, Sirianni, Shane Steichen across the board.
Last thing for Sal Pal. We'll let you run. I know you got a lot of stuff to prepare for. Where are you going, to Kansas City, right?
Yeah, Chiefs Kingdom against the Bills Mafia. How good of an assignment is that?
I'd like to go to Kansas City to check out a game. I've never been there before.
It's insane. It's totally insane. It's like a college game. The fans are right on top of the players.
I heard Jim Nantz say that the booth is really cold. When you call a game there, the press box is cold.
All right, well, guess what? I'll go in and I'll call it if he wants. I don't
all right, so my biggest takeaway.
One thing I don't do in my job, Mike, and you've never heard me do it, is complain about the weather, ever.
Now, the question he was asked is
a really cool game.
The question he was asked is, like, does he have a favorite place to call a game from? And he was kind of like going through a bunch of, because, he does AFC games a lot. So he's like, I'm in Arrowhead a lot, and it's really cold there. So I think he said Lambeau was his, outside of these new places who have like palaces for press boxes. But that was the genesis of the conversation. But my biggest takeaway from last weekend, I know you were in Tampa, so you were kind of focused on that game. But the big story for me, Sal Powell, was the emergence of Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They are here to stay.
Yeah, Mike, they are, but this is a tough out for them in Tennessee. Very difficult.
Well, they might not win this week. I'm just saying they're not a fly-by-nighter. They're not here for the year. They're here to stay. I think you're going to see, when I was growing up, my birthday's Monday, Sal Pal. I'll be 45 years old. And I grew up
You're a young man. Wow.
Brady.
Mike, you're 20 years younger than me, Mike. I'm 65. How about that?
You wouldn't know by this conversation. We're just having a good old chat here. I grew up, it was Brady, Manning, and then you had the other guys like Breeze and Roethlisberger, like that crew. We're watching Mahomes and Allen, and we're going to get this. And then Burrow's the other guy right now that I think is going to enter this mix.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like Joe Burrow quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've met him. I've talked to him. I'm super impressed by the way
you have a cigar with him?
Business. He's got great talent. He's got great talent around him, and his coach is a good coach. And we got a perfect match of coaching system and player. And, he's got big body, wide receivers who can get open on their own. T. Higgins, Boyd, the tight end, C.J. Uzomah, Jamar Chase, go down the list. He's got it all. Now, if they protect him, he'll be pretty good. Tennessee's pass rush is very good. And, getting back to the Eagles for 1 second, Mike, Ray Rhodes went to the playoffs his first year, correct?
Yep.
Chip Kelly.
He was the coach of the year, by the way. He was the coach of the year, right?
Chip Kelly went to the playoffs his first year, right?
Yep.
Nick Sirianni went to the playoffs his first year. You got to sustain it, and then I'll believe it.
All right, we'll leave on that note. Sal Paolantonio, the matchup show, which was excellent this past week. I'm sure you get more time to break these games down. Make sure you check that out. And, of course, for all his live reporting from Bills, Chiefs, probably the best game of the weekend. They gave you the best game of the weekend. How about that?
You know what? How does that happen, Mike? I wonder how that happens.
I don't know, but
listen.
Did you get any indication from Brady that this is it for him?
No, he's coming back.
Okay. Just say you win back-to-back in Tampa. Maybe that's it. It's different winning back-to-back in Tampa. You're living in Tampa. You're like, do I really want to go to work every day? You're in New England.
Everybody wants us old guys to retire. Paul McCartney, Tom Brady, Sal Paolantonio. I like what McCartney said when asked by Rolling Stone, why does he keep making music at age 79? He said, because the idea is to keep on living. It's my job, and I like it. That's me.
It's a good Sal Pal Friday to end this week here on the Sports Bash. And Sal is thanks to our guys over there, Johnny G and the Burger Realty team. Always enjoy having Sal on. And, of course, thanks for helping us be number one right here.
Mike, congratulations on being number one. And thank you very much to Johnny G and the Griner team at Burger Realty in Ocean City. And I will talk to you next Friday, brother.
All right, there you go. Sal Paolantonio here on the Sports Bash. It's a Sal Pal Friday here on 97.3 ESPN.